Brian Tyler Cohen has millions of followers and an amazing head of hair. He also has a new book called The Day After: How to Wield Power in a Post-Trump World. James Carville is worried that the left flank doesn't know how to get power. You heard him. What does he have right/wrong?
Look, I'm not really that interested in kind of litigating the infighting factional divides in the Democratic Party. This is what it's like to be part of a big tent party. It's the blessing and the curse. We don't have as homogenous a country, as homogenous a party as the Republicans have. And so you're going to have DSA folks win in New York, and you're going to have moderate Democrats win in places like Texas and Florida. That's okay. That's part of the deal. I think that the bigger issue here is that we have alignment on the top issue that we're talking about, which is the issue of delivering for Americans, the issue of affordability. And that's something that all Democrats can agree on right now, whether they're Democratic Socialists in New York or whether they're, more conservative Democrats in the South or wherever they may be.
I agree-ish. Affordability is absolutely what will determine the midterms. But you can't just say affordability is what's wrong. The American people will nod their heads because everybody knows it, 95% of us, right, in the latest poll. But what are you going to do about it? That's where the Big Tent thing fails, Brian, because you got to have the same set of remedies.
Look, I think before we even figure out what the remedies are, we have to figure out a way to move forward. I think that, in large part, the reason that I wrote my book is because Democrats have been falling behind in terms of how to actually wield power. I mean, Democrats are the party of strongly worded letters. That's the reality of the situation. And the asymmetry between that and what we see from Republicans, where Donald Trump barrels through everything, barrels through laws, the Constitution, judges, attorneys, the other branches of government, they don't let anything stand in their way. And so I think there's a lot that we can learn about maybe ignoring the sacrosanctity of some of these institutions that for so long have held us back.
Or do you do it the other way and lean back into the institutions? Because, the Founding Fathers, they created these institutions because we needed them. Federalism was born because government can do good things.
I believe government can do big things and good things. And I'm not talking about tearing all of the institutions of government down. I'm talking about tearing the barriers of the government down that prevent us from getting this stuff done. I mean, if you put the filibuster in front of Democrats, you might as well, you might as well put a boulder in front of a highway. Like, there's no way they're going to go around it because they have so much deference for these institutions. And so what I'm arguing for
you would get rid of the filibuster?
I would get rid of the filibuster, absolutely. That is the principal thing standing in the way of progressive legislation and not passing anything. Remember, Republicans have already eliminated the filibuster for their priorities. Republicans have eliminated the filibuster for judges and tax cuts. Those are their top two priorities. Meanwhile, if we want to get an increase to the minimum wage, if we want to get the Voting Rights Act passed, the Freedom to Vote Act passed, if we want to get climate legislation passed, all of that requires 60 votes in the Senate.
But Harry Reid started that, and I think now, aren't we seeing that we need the 60 votes more than ever, Brian? You really want a simple majority making the kinds of changes that are being talked about by the two fringes?
I think at this point, if we don't take serious action to get some lasting, meaningful change.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.